Good morning. Today's story is a story that comes from the Old Testament and tells us about a person who is used by God in an unexpected way. And that story is found in Genesis. It is a very interesting narrative. Adults may want to go there and check out Joseph's story at the end of Genesis for their own enjoyment. And then kids, this is a summary story. I know some of you have very recently had Joseph's story in Sunday school, so this will be a good reminder. Let's listen to the story. Our Joseph story is found in this anthology, A Treasury of Old Testament Heroes. So there's the cover of the book. And here are all the stories in this book, and as you can see, the story of Joseph is our second story. Here is the beginning of the story with kind of a foreshadowing of what's coming at the end, because we start with Joseph as a young man. So the story of Joseph, written by Patricia A. Pingree, illustrated by Jim Spence. Now, Patricia uses scripture story as the basis for what she writes. Here we are. Here is Jacob, an important character. And here's one of his sons, Joseph. And it's important to know that there's some jealousy here. All right, let's get going. Jacob had 12 sons, but he loved his son Joseph best. Jacob gave Joseph a special coat. His brothers were jealous and hated Joseph. One night, Joseph dreamed that his father and brothers bowed down to him. Here he is, sleeping, wearing his coat. Joseph told his family about his dream. His father was angry and his brothers laughed. They would never bow down to Joseph. So he's the little brother, and they are big brothers, obviously. And there's Jacob and one of his wives. That's a whole nother story. All right, here they are out at the field. Joseph's brothers looked after sheep, and one day Joseph went out to the fields to see his brothers. They saw him coming. They jumped on Joseph. They tore off his coat, and they threw him into a deep pit. There he is. Pretty mean thing. So here he is. Somehow he is out of the pit. Then the brothers sold Joseph to some strangers. They took Joseph to the land of Egypt. So they not only hurt their brother, they made money off what they had done. Not so good. The brothers took Joseph's coat to their father Jacob. He thought that an animal had eaten Joseph. He was very sad. Mother is sad. His father is sad. I wonder how Joseph's feeling at this point. Wondering if he'll ever go home again. So there's stories in the scripture about his time being sold as a slave, and it's surprising. We turn the page and there he is looking like a pharaoh. Now, because Joseph does so many wonderful things, he is chosen as a ruler of Egypt, one of the assistants to the Pharaoh. So Joseph became ruler of Egypt, and one year there was no rain and no food, but Joseph had saved food for Egypt. Joseph's brothers came to Egypt for food. They didn't know that the ruler was their brother. Joseph's brothers asked the ruler for food, and they bowed down to Joseph, just like in his dream. Now I wonder how Joseph feels now. Surprisingly, Joseph says, "I am your brother. I love you. I forgive you for selling me." Now that's a big surprise. And Joseph told his brothers, "Go home and bring my father back. Bring back my father." And Jacob was happy to see his son. So there they are together. Joseph was a good ruler. He was a good son, and he forgave his brothers. It tells us in our Bible, in Genesis, what was helpful for Joseph to understand, to be able to forgive and to lead. And we find his explanation of what he saw was happening in our Bibles. And I'm bringing my Bible out. Let's look at the mark I have here. I am turning to Genesis chapter 45, and I've marked off the verse. "And now do not be distressed." This is Joseph meeting his brothers. "Because you sold me here." Wait. "Now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life." That professor I had so long ago that had us translate that whole story of Joseph pointed out to us that the name of God or God is not mentioned throughout that entire story until the very end, when Joseph explains this was God at work. And that is obviously what keeps him going. Because becoming a leader in Egypt was a hard thing. They made it seem like one page in this telling, but it was a really hard thing. And he becomes a leader, and through the years, Joseph sees it is God at work. So I want you, boys and girls, to start looking for, where is God at work in you or in someone you know? The story of Joseph encourages us to look for that. Well, thank you for being with me today. On Thursday, we're going to hear about another Bible hero who let God use them to preserve life.